Hello, my name is Melissa McQueenie, and I am a licensed therapist and the host of the It's Your Effin' Journey podcast. This is a place where I share my tips, tricks, strategies from my therapy sessions in order to help you gain the confidence that you might need to make the choices that are right for your life. It's your effing journey. This is my effing journey. And I want to share with you today a quick little story about how you never know what someone is going through. And you might be in a situation that you don't even know about, and you have to deal with somebody's emotions. And this one is going to be a brief little episode, but I wanted to share it because there was a couple different lessons tied into this one story. And I just thought it's funny. It also makes me feel bad a little bit. And it also just was a really good lesson for me, and hopefully something that you can take forward and maybe have a little bit of understanding or compassion for someone who may not be being the kindest or nicest to you given what they're going through. So without further ado, what time is it? Podcast time. It's a celebration. What time is it? Podcast time. So, before I start, I just want to throw out there that I have opened my life coaching spots for October. My life coaching spots is on a Zoom, 1 hour sessions consecutively 3 weeks in a row. So what you're going to do if you are interested in working with me in October is you are going to fill out the form, and then we are going to lock in a time for you every single week. So let's say yours is Thursdays at 1 o'clock. We meet consecutively for those 3 weeks and really go in on moving yourself forward, working through any anxiety that is holding you back from accomplishing things in your business, in your career, in your relationships, in friendships. I really want to help you move the needle forward. And it's October, guys. So what better time than now, especially if you've had goals that maybe have been put on the back burner for a lot of this year. Now's the time to don't say goodbye to them. Do something before the year ends. Don't wait for January. And I've been thinking about this a lot, is especially like my people who struggle with mental health, who really benefit from moving their bodies every single day. Just a hint, everybody benefits from that. But what I want you to do is, if you're not consistently moving your body outside, start doing that now before the weather changes. If you are in a place where we have different weather, there's a reason that we sell hats, gloves, things to keep you warm. I want you to get so consistent with feeling good and moving your body intentionally outside that is a no-brainer. You're going to continue that through the winter. You're going to bundle yourself up and you're going to get yourself out there. I want us all to enter this season where typically people struggle in New England. I want you to thrive. So let's put those actions into place now so that you have it down pat when the weather comes. Okay, so I haven't really been sharing a lot about my marriage. Intentionally, unintentionally, like sort of like if you don't focus on it, maybe it will just go away type thing. But it's been nice. I've had interviews on the podcast now, so it's not all like spotlight on Melissa's life, which I need right now because it's hard to sort of always be in your own head, in your own body, in your own feelings. Sometimes you need just like, I need to be in other people's problems right now, not my own. But it's been really hard. And for the people who are sort of in this with me, I appreciate you. I appreciate the check-ins. I don't really want the check-ins. If you're here and you're like, oh, maybe I should check in on her, please don't. It's a hard time in my life right now, and I will share as I feel is right for me. But for those who have been in it with me and listening to this podcast, honestly, this is the place where people know the most. I know a lot of people, sometimes I say things on social media and they're like, oh, I didn't know about that. I didn't hear you say that. This is where you come to hear it all. But I'm only going to let, out, as I said, as it's right for me, my life, and as I feel right doing it. But anyways, let me move forward. So it's been challenging. And right before I left for California to do the Disney half, it was very challenging. There was a lot of shit going on, a lot of moving parts. It was really hard. So I signed up for a fundraiser event at the restaurant that Kaylin works. If you follow me on social media, you know I'm obsessed with this restaurant. It's just delicious food. They always are looking out for the vegetarians, which I love. I just love going there. So I signed up for this fundraising dinner. And actually, it's funny, like our timeline of love for this restaurant. It used to be a different restaurant years ago, and Tucker and I, because his law firm was right down the street, we attended the fundraising dinner years ago. So anyways, I bought tickets. When you don't know what's happening in your relationship, you don't know what's happening in your relationship. There is a reason that I have not really planned a lot of things for our family, including our summer vacation, if you remember that, because I don't know what's happening in our lives. And if you've ever been in the period of marriage or a breakup like I am in right now, you will understand what that is like. There's just like it. Every time I make a plan, shit changes, shit goes down, and I don't want to be on the receiving end of dealing with that. So I buy these 2 tickets, right? Not sort of, and I fly by the seat of my pants anyways, right? Like, I don't have a problem, doing things by myself. I don't have a problem, last minute just asking someone to come with me. And this was interesting because I bought these 2 tickets, not knowing if I was bringing Tucker or if I was going to end up bringing a friend or if I was going to meet a woman on my women dating sites and bring her. Actually, I never would do that because Kaylin works there, but I didn't know who I was going to bring. So I'm like, okay, I bought these 2 tickets, and then shit went down in my life and in my home. And I think the first email that came from Penelope, because this episode's going to be called Poor Penelope. Penelope was in a bad situation at a bad time and had no fucking idea what she was walking into. But let's talk about Penelope. So my first email from Penelope came, I think, when shit was really going down. Tucker's birthday was September 3rd. We were like barely talking and like getting through that weekend. And then I was leaving for California the next day. So it literally was like, hold on for dear life. You're flying out in the morning. That was what the feeling was. Penelope writes me an email, September 3rd, Tucker's birthday. Now, again, Penelope has no fucking idea what she's walking into. Poor Penelope. That is what we will say. I don't often victimize people, but Penelope is 100% the victim in this situation. Penelope sends me an email and says, hey, thank you so much for purchasing these fundraising tickets to the restaurant. We're so excited to have you. What are the names for your name tags? We're going to print out, nice little registration name tags. I say Melissa McQueenie +1. To me, that is 100% appropriate. If I am not worried about someone having a personalized name tag, that is good to go. It wasn't enough for Penelope. Poor little Miss Penelope. Penelope was like, I need a name. And that was when my first fireworks went off in my head. I was like, what the fuck is up with this Penelope bitch? Why does she need a fucking name? So I wrote her back and I said, hey, I don't need a personalized name tag. I'm totally fine with Melissa McQueenie +1. Thank you. My laundry's done. Bye, Penelope. Talk to you soon, right? Get through, my race in California, all that stuff. Come home. Things are a little bit better in the home, whatever. But still, I still don't know if Tucker's going to come with me. He doesn't love fundraisers. He doesn't love talking to people. It's not really his vibe. So I still wasn't sure. A week from the event, I get another email from Penelope. Penelope says, hey, we are a week out from the fundraiser. I would like to know the name of your guest so that I can make a personalized name tag. Ask me. Now this is the lesson that I want to convey or portray or explain for today. Is Penelope has no idea that my life and marriage is in shambles. No idea. She has no idea. She is a person who's working at the restaurant and trying to make this event the best, right? She is trying to do her due diligence. She's probably following the instructions of her employer, and just doing her job. And little Miss Melissa, on the other end, is doing the best that I can in a really stressful, chaotic life environment, right? So the last thing on my list, I wanted to support the restaurant. I wanted to support the fundraiser. But literally the last thing on my list of things that I had brain space for was who this +1 was for. It was, and honestly, every time I read it, it was like, make a decision, Melissa. Penelope didn't mean to send that message to me of make a decision, Melissa, make a decision, Melissa. But that was how it felt. It felt like this is too much for me right now. I cannot handle it. I need you to back the fuck off. And so when I got that email of like, I need it, I lost it. I called my daughter who works there and I'm like, who the fuck is Penelope? And why is she harassing me? Was Penelope harassing me for a name? No. Did it feel like that based upon what I was going through? Yes. Is Penelope to blame? Absolutely not. So I didn't come too hard at Penelope, but I also I thought it was important for me to express this is why I am having a hard time. I'm not going to I'm not going to write, Penelope a soliloquy about my marital problems and why I'm in the situation that I'm in and why it's difficult for me to pick a +1. I just wanted her to back off and I needed to not hear it again. So I wrote her, I said, hey, this is leaving me, a bad taste in my mouth. I really want to support the fundraiser. I love the restaurant. I love the mission. But like I stated before, I'm okay with not having a personalized, name tag. I'm okay with guest McQueenie or Melissa McQueenie +1. It's fine. She was like, I totally understand. We'll see you then. And honestly, after I sent it, it wasn't, I'm not unhappy or disappointed with myself in how I responded. Could I have just let it go? Maybe. Could I have just given Tucker's name? Maybe. But I just thought it was such a good example of here is this innocent Penelope who has no idea what Melissa is going through or why Melissa is so worked up and upset about this. And, I just thought it's so interesting, that dynamic of Penelope being what the fuck is her problem? And me being what the fuck is Penelope's problem? And it's really just based, at least on my end, about what I'm going through at the time. We don't ever know what people are going through. So we don't ever know what's going to be triggering to them. What's going to be upsetting potentially, what's going to aggravate something. And that doesn't mean we walk around on eggshells. It just means that maybe, and she was totally nice, and this is not a dig on Penelope in any ways, but if Penelope's curious of why is this bitch going crazy, she could just have a little bit of compassion and just be okay, obviously there's something about this that is triggering. And if she heard that I was in this separation and it was really awkward for me, and I didn't know who I'd be bringing, I'm sure she'd totally be oh, I get it, right? But we're not in the kind of relationship that we are going to have that kind of conversation. So we just sort of have to learn how to navigate each other in this environment. Now, there's another little part to this story. I have had this sort of I guess it is a self-limiting belief about me being alone. And I think this stems from being an only child, being adopted, sort of this idea of I'm on my own and, I can do things for myself and I can, that it's hard for me to rely on other people. I think that that's a story that I've been trying to break away from and change in my adult life, because it's not true. People can be there for me. People are there for me. I have to access them and I have to let people in. But what looking back at this whole situation as it unfolded, as the event came, because I ended up going to the event by myself, and part of me is like, wah, wah, poor me about that, or at least I was for like a hot minute. But then I had to get, and this is part of becoming, like, of honing in on my coaching skills, is I'm able to coach myself in a way that I never was able to before. And it's super helpful because I was able to say to myself, what could I have done in this situation to give myself a different outcome that wouldn't have been that self-limiting belief of I am always on my own. I can only do things. I'm only going to show up for myself. And and that became really glaringly obvious to me what I could have done. I was a big fan of the movie Clue when I was little, and I always loved like the different, like, well, what if this happened, and what about this, synopsis, or what about this ending. And honestly, if I was at like the most self-evolved part of my journey, I would have. This is what I think an emotionally very mature person would have done in the moment. Is the first time that I got the email from Penelope to give a guest, I could have taken that as my time right then. If my marriage felt insecure, chaotic, unsure of where it was going, I should have, and I could have, went right to my friends and locked down a date of someone who would have wanted to go with me to this event. Instead of get into that, like, well, I'm alone and I don't know if I'm going to be alone and I don't know where my marriage is going. That allowed me to just stay in that feeling and in that reality. It didn't challenge me to find a friend to book that in with. It allowed me to stay in that story that didn't serve me. And then when the email came again, I could have, a week out, instead of put all that energy into being angry with Penelope's request, is like, oh shit, maybe I should find a date for this so that I don't end up at something else alone, because that's something that's come up a lot for me recently. And it's also something that's gotten me into this point of my marriage and in this contention. So, I think that looking back, I definitely should have right then and there been like, all right, Penelope, like, back the fuck off. But still, let me find a date. Let me find a date to come with me to this event so that I'm not alone, so that I'm not worried about my plus one, so that I don't have, my relationship and my marriage hanging over my head. That's what I should have done. When I went to the event and I saw Penelope, I literally just wanted to, like, because I didn't have a date. So after all of that, just to not show up with someone felt really, I don't want to say embarrassing, but like a little, right? Oh no, am I still here? Oh, I am still here. Okay, good. Um, yeah, so that is that's my story. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I wanted to share it because I felt terrible for Penelope, and I felt bad for myself too, because it's shitty. I know what this feels like. I don't wish it on my enemies. Um, and I just thought it was a really good example of being kind to others, and for both sides, right? Like, she maybe could have sent less emails. Maybe I could have gotten my shit together a little bit earlier. But I think when we know that there are things that people can't share with us and that people are carrying that we can't see, hopefully it allows us a little bit more kindness. So I hope this helped today. I hope you're loving these new episodes with the interviews and all of that. I am just loving this whole journey, and I appreciate you being here so much. Please tag me on social media, screenshot this recording, and I want to thank you for being here, and I want to thank you for sharing the message. So I appreciate you. Love you guys. See you soon.